way back, the great Tony Marinaro, Martin Lemay from Energy, Tony, TSN 690. Tony, Canadian, we were everywhere last week with those wins, and the Canadians lost the last two, one against the Kings, one last night against the Flyers. That looked pathetic.
Well, it's hard really to figure out who the real team is, right? Is it the team that was 9-1 in their last 10 games before the Los Angeles game, or is it the team that is obviously 0-2 in the last two games? You would think it's a combination of both. It's somewhere in between, right? They're not as good as 9-1, and they're not as bad as their last two losses. I thought the loss against Los Angeles, albeit by a huge scoreline of 6-0, was something that we could just forget about, throw it in the garbage, and move on. It happens to everyone. One bump in the road, one really, really bad, significant loss in the season. It's nothing to cry about. Having said that, what you're looking for as a coach, and Michel Therrien, I'm sure, was looking for that yesterday, was a response. All right, coach, it was a bad game. Let's forget about it. We bounce back. Convincingly, we go into Philadelphia, and we take care of the Philadelphia Flyers. You know, we said that the Canadians lost the way they did against Los Angeles because the schedule had been so bad that they basically had no more juice left. There was no more gas left in the tank. Well, last night they went up against a team that was playing 2 games in 2 nights.
They got whipped.
Got whipped by, they got obliterated in Chicago. They got home at, 2:30 in the morning or whatever it was in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Was the second least scoring team in the Eastern Conference. Is a very, very bad team in general if we take a look at the standings. There's no excuse for the Canadians to come out in the first period and fire only 4 shots on goal. Never outshoot the Philadelphia Flyers. Get outshot 9-8 yesterday. No passion, no determination, no fight, no energy, no comeback, nothing. Pretty disappointing to say the least.
Exactly, and the Canadians were so bad it was tough to watch as a fan because there were no show. There were no. It was not exciting at all to watch. So anyway, the Canadiens were bad, very bad yesterday, and the game before. And you have to go back because before that, last Saturday against the Sabres was awful. Was not great.
No.
Before that, you have those 2 games against the Devils, who was not very good at all.
Could have gone either way.
Exactly, and you got the Boston Bruins, who because it's the Bruins was.
But I'm okay with that. Bruins game was their 6th in 9 nights, and the fact that they won that game, that was great. It's more so the games against the Devils, the game against the Buffalo Sabres, the last 2 games. I mean, at what point does Michel Therrien hit the panic button? After 2 losses, no. But what happens if he loses both this weekend?
I think you have to go with Budaj on Saturday. And every time you went with Budaj, after a slump or tougher time, Budaj answer well, and the team answer well in front of Budaj. I don't know if it's because they think they have to play better because it's not Carey Price into that, but I think they can bounce back against the Islanders, who are another very bad team lately. They don't play good at all. So I can see the Canadians get back on the winning track next Saturday, and they play Florida.
This is what you need, right? You need a spark. Where's the spark going to come from? Yesterday they put George Parros in the lineup. They put Douglas Murray in the lineup, and they're figuring these guys are going to give some energy. They're going to give a spark. Well, when the Canadians were down by a score of 2-0 in the first period, which player went out there and tried to deliver that big hit, tried to change the momentum of the hockey game? Maybe Yemelin did on defense, but it didn't pan out very well for him. But those fourth-line players that they have, the Murrays, the Whites of the world, the Parros of the world, the Mohans of the world, Brandon Prost, who's playing on the third line. I mean, where were those guys yesterday?
I agree with you.
That's the most concerning thing. The fact not only that they lost, but they made no attempt to win.
Exactly. Oh, that's a good point. The other part, you talked about those line change, but right now my problem there's nobody to play on the right wing of Pacioretty and Dernay. You signed Daniel Brière to play there. It doesn't work. Did work at the training camp. Did work in the first games. You brought Gallagher. It worked. Daniel Brière with anybody else, it didn't work at all. And I know you were cheering for Daniel Brière. Where do you see him? Do you think like I did? And I'm thinking his best day are over. I think that guy.
That's for sure.
That guy.
The question is not whether his best days are behind him. The question is he finished?
I think so.
You think he's finished?
I think so. I think he can play 5-on-5 anymore. And I was listening to Pierre Maguire with Mitch yesterday and the day before. He said the same thing. On 5-on-5, it's over for them.
Well, then we got a big problem because the general manager signed them for 2 years at $8 million. I'd like to see him play at the center ice position for 4 or 5 games in a row before I'm going to say he's finished. But clearly he is so much on the decline that he can't help this team. And I thought I'd never say this, but right now the short-term solution is going to be to get Rennie Bourque back in the lineup and put him on the off wing on the right side with Pacioretty and Dernay. It produced better results than having Briere there. I don't know where I see Briere right now because at the beginning of the season, I saw Briere at center and I didn't see David Desharnais on this team. Desharnais played better hockey than Briere, so now he's at center, and now I don't see Briere on this team.
Exactly.
One of them's too many.
Exactly.
And it looks like Desharnais is younger, and it looks like he's better right now.
And if people were wondering where the Canadiens can get better with Marc Bergevin looking for a trade, it's at the wing, the right wing. You have to find somebody there to play along those two guys if you want to go further in the season and in the playoff. A quick word on Brian Burke, who fired Jay Feaster yesterday.
Not surprised, saw it coming, and he has really bad hair and he needs a haircut.
You saw the tweet of his daughter yesterday?
No.
She said so. She said, I think I have to bring my dad to the barbershop.
Yeah, letting himself go a little bit.
I like Brian Burke. I'm a big fan of him. Jay Feaster, it's not his fault. It was the team he got from Sutter, and it was a very crappy team. So he made
It's a bad team.
He made the cleanup, and he did a good cleanup. But Brian Burke doesn't have the same philosophy of Jay Feaster on how to build a team. And Brian Burke liked team with beef. That's what he said yesterday. And if you look at his track record, he always done it. He went to Vancouver, get Brewery out, brought Ed Jovanovski, who was a rising star as a big defenseman in the league. He went to, name it, he went to Anaheim, brought Pronger and Niedermeyer, defenseman, big one in Pronger. He went to Toronto, brought Dion Phaneuf. He said he doesn't have anything against small players. They can be in his team, Kessel, Selani, but they have to be surrounded by beef. And I totally agree with him. If you look at those teams who won the Stanley Cup, they are big, they are fast, they skate. So Brian Burke have a different philosophy as a Jay Feaster, and they took a separate way. Big fan of Brian Burke.
Probably going to make a move for Dougie Hamilton of the Boston Bruins. He always identifies big, strong, young defensemen.
Exactly. And if Emlyn was free agent, not signed by the Canadiens, he would go after.
He'd go after.
Baseball, there was that press conference yesterday with Roman Cromartie. We brought that feasibilities study, and of course they did the
everything
study.
Was to be expected, though. I think we expected to see that, right? The one thing is they said that 69% of Quebecers want to see the Expos return to Major League Baseball, but that survey was also conducted before they told the people that they had to put in some of their money, because some of the money does have to come from the public sector, of course. So that remains rather interesting. Look, it's a step in the right direction. I feel a lot better about our baseball team coming back today than I did a couple of days ago. But at the same time, they mentioned on more than one occasion yesterday, we're looking for a champion. You take a look at the press conference, there was a plea that was made. There was a serious plea that was made. Basically, all they said was, please, somebody with money, and please, somebody with money, step forward. That's exactly what they said. Who's that champion going to be?
Bell. They just lost the hockey for 12 years. I think right now you have an owner in Tampa Bay who have a great team. When even it's in the team is in the playoff, they don't have any people at the stadium. So he's a guy with big money. He wants a place to put his team. Montreal is a big place. The champion have to be just a minority partner with the guy. Put those money in the stadium, because the 2/3 have to be paid by the government. When I say have to be paid by the government, but refund in 8 years. That's what it said yesterday. And if you ask you, Tony, you're not going to pay more taxes, but your taxes is going to be used for that stadium, and the tax is going to be refunded in 8 years. Do you agree?
I don't know how they're going to be able to pay it back in 8 years.
It's easy. I saw that. The taxes on the players. If you have a 60 or 75 million payroll, it's 30 to 35 million in tax. It's easy to count.
I think they said within the next 20 years after that, the government's going to make $1 billion.
Exactly. So
I guess everyone in the world is going to be opening up stadiums and.
Anyway, we did win anything when they lose the baseball in Montreal.
You're right about that.
And let me tell you something. It's unfair what happened to Montreal, because we never have a baseball stadium. It's an Olympic stadium. It's not a baseball stadium. And we never had a real owner. We had an owner who worked with the sponsors. So that doesn't work. You have to need a guy who's a real owner. So we need a chance, I think, in Montreal. You agree?
Go Expos, go.
Go Expo.
Go Habs, go.
2. We'll see.